Hey guys, it is Autumn Skylar here with the first video in a series I intend to do on this channel called Let's Talk About It. So, before I talk about it, I'm going to give a brief overview about what this series is going to entail. If you couldn't guess from the title, I'm going to be talking about things, subjects if you will, topics, other synonyms for subjects. And I intend to talk about things that aren't necessarily given as much coverage as they should be. Not that they don't get any coverage, but that creators in of themselves don't necessarily talk about them even if they're things that afflict them. Whether that's because of stigmatization or fear or whatever. I would like to be able to help somebody that's struggling with an issue that maybe doesn't have anywhere else to turn and really feels alone and like they can't talk about it because nobody will understand. I would like to let some person know in whatever small way I can that, hey, I'm here. I've dealt with that. That sucks. Let's talk about that. So funny. So that's my intent for this channel, and if you guys have any topic suggestions, leave them down below. But anyways, let's get started with the topic today. I mean, who hasn't ridden on that Depress Express before? Toot toot! We're gonna forget I did that and move on. So, depression, what is it? It's a deep, immense, overpowered feeling of sadness. Sadness isn't even the right word to describe it. It's soul-crushing darkness that can consume you. It's almost like you have a glass of water and you take some food coloring and you do a drop. It just spreads to the water. And now you can have just one drop or you can have 100 drops. And depending on how much food coloring or depression you have in this scenario, it's going to get darker and darker and darker. But even if you have just a small amount, it seeps into your whole being, like that glass of water. Now, my struggle with depression began as far back as I can remember for a lot of reasons. I sadly went through traumatic events in my childhood that shaped me into the person I am, but also made me very socially awkward, so it was very easy for people to pick on me because I was that girl. You know, every school has that girl, the weird girl. You're looking at her. I know, you're so shocked. Psh, I was a weird girl? Well, I'll tell you a secret. I still am a weird girl. Don't tell anybody. I think I got him fooled. Anyways, so on top of the traumatic events that occurred, there was also a lot of bullying. And when I say a lot, I mean every day, constant. And I'm not like trying to get like, oh, sympathy, oh, I'm so sorry that you went through that. It's fine. In a way, I'm kind of glad that I went through that because I think that it's made me a better person. I still mess up, but I think that I've grown from it, and you know, I'm glad that I got to experience it because I think that it's made me more empathetic than maybe I would have been. But anyways, all of that caused me to be a very depressed individual, and it all kind of came to its boiling point 13 going into 14. That's when I kind of got introduced to the world of trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning. Gonna briefly talk about self-harm. Still here? Okay, warned ya. I got into self-harm and it got pretty bad and things just were getting worse and worse and worse, and I felt so alone, and even though I had found someone who understood me, I couldn't deal with the constant bullying, especially because everybody found out that I liked girls. At the time I thought I was lesbian. I'm not. Not that it matters. I'm bisexual, but that's besides the point. At the time I thought that I was lesbian and I was dating girls, and one of them let everybody know that I was gay and that they were gay, and that really sucked because at the time me and them had broken up, and so I didn't really have anybody to lean on when the whole school had it confirmed that I liked the girls. So it was very hard, especially when I got my hair cut, which was 12 going on 13. And, you know, the constant jokes about it, you know, going into the girls' locker room and, you know, people saying, oh, what's a boy doing in here? But it really does bad things for your self-esteem. I mean, I thought that I looked better with short hair. I still do. I still have short hair because I like the way that it looks on my face. I think that it looks good. Better than long hair. But, you know, that constant beating down on your self-esteem and being made to feel so inadequate messes you up, and it puts you in this really dark, deep place. And, you know, I was lucky to find somebody who understood me and to date them, but things fell apart a little bit, and I ended up going inpatient for mental health related reasons. And I did also end up losing them, sadly, to suicide, and that was very challenging, and it made everything go crazy. Depression-wise, it was the worst I'd ever felt, and it didn't help that I was also struggling with an eating disorder, so I just was off my gourd, and all of my friends didn't really know what to do with me, how to help me, and, you know, I only had like 2 good friends, and they didn't know what to do. They were kids. We were kids. I was 14. No one knew what to do, and so the depression just festered and festered and festered into this infected wound that was my heart. Man, that was emo. But it just kept getting worse, and, you know, I kept going in and out of inpatient psychiatric facilities, and, you know, that was a theme that followed me and still follows me to this day, whether it be related to mental health that's depression related specifically or anorexia related specifically. I've kind of gotten accustomed to the whole psych ward situation, and you know, I think part of why for me the depression kept getting worse was not only just being alone and losing my girlfriend to suicide, but also the fact that I was being treated for depression but not being treated for bipolar, which they didn't really see as something that was going on. It's sometimes hard to get that definitive diagnosis because they mimic each other in a lot of ways, and especially if you're hiding things from your therapist or psychiatrist, they're not going to get the full picture. So things got worse, and then things got better, and then brain surgery, wheelchair happened, so the depression built up again. And the past 4 years of, you know, medical issues, going in and out of hospitals, in and out of surgery, in and out of physical therapy, inpatients, in and out of a wheelchair, a walker, or a cane, it does shitty things for your self-esteem. Like, I mean, I'm scared every day that I'm gonna wake up and my legs aren't gonna work right again, or I'm gonna have non-epileptic seizures again for a year, or I'm gonna need another brain surgery, or all of that stuff constantly going through my head, which is something that I know a lot of people that have medical issues can relate to. I know specifically, not at all that I'm trying to compare medical issues, but I know people that have gone into remission from cancer that all they can think about is it coming back. And not that that's my issue. I'm not trying to compare what I'm going through to cancer. I want to make that clear. But I understand that because I'm constantly thinking that too. And now that I have my life finally together, I'm, 6 months recovered from anorexia and weight restored and, out of my walker and wheelchair and doing great physically and mentally. I'm trying to get in so much to make up for lost time, and also because I'm scared that I'm gonna lose it all again. So I want to do everything now. So for me, my depression manifests in 2 ways. Kind of. I mean, there's a lot of ways, but 2 big ones. I sit alone in my room or go for a walk and sit in the woods, and I either just sit there and think about my emotions and all of the bad stuff that's happened to me and that I'm afraid will happen, or I sit there and I just cry. And the other way is where the manic episode comes in, where I try and do everything but think about what's going on in my head. I try and distract myself and pretend that it's not going on. I push it down and push it down and push it down and push it down, because if it's pushed down far enough, maybe it'll just poof, go away. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. That just makes it worse. It makes it grow and grow and grow until you're regurgitating all of this stuff weeks later out of the blue, when you thought that you were over it, but you weren't, because you never worked through it in the first place. So for me, now, 2020, September 3rd, what is depression like? Still there. The fact of my life is that in one way or another, depression is always going to be there. And that's not me being defeatist, it's me being realistic. Because I have bipolar, it's always going to be this little chip on my shoulder, this little voice in the back of my head that has varying degrees of volume depending on what's going on, depending, on a lot of things. If I'm following my meal plan, if I am continuing on with therapy, if I'm working through the things that are haunting me. I mean, there's a lot that goes into staying on the straight and narrow and not falling back into old patterns and behaviors. Because if you let the depression take over, you're not you anymore. You're not driving your body. The depression is. You're just a passenger along for the ride, and even if you want to stop it, you can't, because you let go of your control. And it's really hard. It's so hard. And so many people want to pretend that they're not going through it. I want to pretend that I'm not going through it. I like to pretend that all of the stuff that's happened to me and all of the things that are going on in my head aren't happening, because if I pretend hard enough, they won't be. But like I stated, that's not gonna work. It's just gonna make it blow up like a volcano and erupt. And, I'm not trying to let that happen again, because it's not good when that happens. So, in a lot of ways, I am handling my depression a lot better. I am more socially active than I've been in a long time, which is surprising given the whole situation of Corona and quarantine, but I've luckily been able to make a group of friends, and they are kind of like me and, maybe don't go out as much, so there's less of a risk of that transference of the virus. And I still have my friends that I've had for a few years, and I get to see them every once in a while, and I haven't seen them in a while, but I'm trying to, and I still have my family. And, besides that, I am really working on me and focusing on trying to better myself. And even though I make mistakes and I still hurt people even when I don't intend to, I'm doing so much better. And The advice that I want to give to somebody that is really struggling with depression right now: ask for help. In some way, ask for help. They have anonymous services where you can talk. I have utilized them in the past. I mean, you can Google so many sites. I will leave links down in the description for different anonymous sites where you can talk about your problems with somebody. And there are services where you can call. And I've done that before, and it's sometimes taken me down off the ledge. And sometimes it hasn't, but it's better to try and see what happens, because as much as you might not like yourself, you are a human being that is worthy of peace and love and happiness and success. You deserve that. And if you keep beating yourself up and using yourself as a human punching bag, none of the dreams that you want are ever going to come true, and you're just going to create a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you beat yourself up and tell yourself it's never going to happen, you're worthless, you're stupid, you're going to create a person who can't function, who can't achieve that dream because they are so convinced that it can't happen. And I've fallen into that pit more times than I can count. And it's not worth it. So please ask for help and know that you're not alone. And know that it can get better. For me, the saving grace was electroconvulsive therapy, which is a lot, but it really saved my life. I think I would have relapsed again without it already. And I don't think that I would be as positive as I am right now. I don't think I would have started this channel or been going to college or started driving or tried to make new friends. I don't think I would have done any of that. So, not that I am here saying that that's what you need. Every case is different, but you gotta ask for help. I'm begging you, because the alternative, it's soul-crushing, and it can lead you down a very bad path, and very quickly, so much quicker than you think it will. One little slip that you don't tell anyone about can lead to 100 little slips. And then they're big slips. And then you're drowning. But you gotta fight. Because you're worth it. And you are a person that's worth knowing. And if the people around you don't like you, they're dicks. They're assholes. You will find your people. There is over 7 billion people on the planet. There is bound to be somebody just like you. You just gotta keep fighting, and you have to be willing to look on the brighter side of life sometimes and not expect life to kick you in the balls. Because if you're just sitting there waiting for life to kick you in the balls, before you know it, life's going to kick you in the balls. And you'll just have spent all of the time that was leading up to that moment waiting for the impact, instead of filling it with wonderful memories. Cumulatively, I've probably spent years wallowing in all of the bad. But I don't want to marinate myself in that anymore. I mean, I'd like to be a honey barbecue lemonaded chicken thigh, but I can't exactly be that. But I'll be the human equivalent, which is a human that has surrounded herself with joy and positivity and pleasure and, you know, successes. So in a way, I am that honey barbecued chicken thigh. But in here. All right. So that was me talking about depression, which ended with a very weird analogy about being a honey barbecue chicken thigh. But hey, I'm kinda hungry. You probably didn't hear it, but my tummy's grumbling. So, overall, I hope that this was at least informative to some people that maybe don't have a clear idea about what depression is like, and that if you are somebody that's struggling with it, maybe this made you feel less alone. I know that I ramble, and I know that maybe sometimes the things that I'm saying don't make 100% sense, but I really just wanted this to be my honest take on depression, which is something that I'm fairly knowledgeable about. I've had a lot of experience, a lot. So anyways, I hope that, not that you enjoyed hearing about my struggle with depression, but that it was either informative or made you feel like there was somebody that understood you. So that's the end of the video. Please, if you need help with depression, there is going to be a list of services that you can contact to try and get that help and support that you need, because you're worth it. So that's the end of the video. If you guys liked it, like it. If you want to subscribe, subscribe. If you hate it, dislike it. You're a free human with free will. That's what the gods gave you, so use it. And if you have a suggestion for a topic you would like me to discuss, leave it down below and I might. So this was the first video in this series, and I hope that this will be an informative and maybe perspective-changing series of videos. I don't know, but I have high hopes. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.